Hey everyone, NovaCase here, and welcome to my first real Storytime video. I know this is late. I've had a lot of stuff going on between being sick and just stuff going on with work. I've been having to stay over a good amount of overtime hours, but very frustrating and exhausting, especially when I've been sick. And on top of that, just very emotional time in regard to one of my coworkers. Hello, car. Why do you go by? Anyway, as such, I know the video's late. That's definitely not what I intended. Hopefully it won't happen again to this degree, because good grief. Quick note about the picture, because I really enjoyed doing this one. I'm glad to finally get the coloring process up. I'm still kind of sick. I still sound congested, I know. This is the line art was done in, sorry, I had a text. The line art was done in a live stream, or at least the sketch was. I'm pretty sure the line art was too, but it was done in a live stream. Not the last one I did, maybe the one before that. And somebody suggested draw a fairy. My sister wanted me to draw her, so I drew her as a fairy, and she's a cute little pregnant fairy because she's pregnant. She's gonna have my nephew in just a couple months, and I'm excited because I'm gonna be an auntie. And he's supposed to be born on Star Wars Day, and that's really exciting for us because we're all a bunch of nerds. Anyway, with the color choices, I did go with, I do want to talk about the art for a minute. I did accidentally make her hair a bit too dark. I didn't intend for that. Her hair is quite a bit lighter than mine, and I didn't realize it till after I got it, completely finished, so that was frustrating. The color scheme with the green and the blue, her favorite color combo is lime green and turquoise, so for the butterfly wings, I went with the bright, vibrant blue. But her favorite color is green, so I stuck with that for the dress. And I just feel like that was the smart way to go about it. I didn't want to use too bright of a green with those bright blue wings. And I really like the final result of all of this. I had a lot of fun with it, and I may make a couple more comments on it as I go through the video and as I do my commentary. But anyway, as such, as this is a picture of her, I thought it'd be neat to do a little, not only do a story time, but do one that involves me and her. And I asked her what one I should do, and she suggested this story. So know that she knows I'm telling this one, and she's obviously okay with it because I told her what I'd be using it for. But this is the first story she suggested, and it's an amusing one. As most of our story times will do, this one involves injury. Me getting hurt, as you guessed by the title. I'm actually, looking back on it, it's a wonder. I say it's a wonder that I didn't, but I really may have broken my nose when this happened. But a little bit of backstory first. There was a point in time, at the end of 3rd grade, we moved up to a different city in my state, and we lived there for a year, but this was just after Mom and Dad got married, so this was a big adjustment for us, and I feel like the timing was maybe not the best to have us move after a big lifestyle change of Mom marrying Dad, because that was a huge change for us. Because now we not only had a mom, but we actively had a dad who was actually there. And we also had a little brother who was 6 years younger than me. And I had just finished 3rd grade, so I was 9. I was 9. I was 8 when they got married, so my little brother was 2. And so here we are, 2 or 3, one of the two. By the time we moved back to where we're from, he was 3. or 4. Whichever. Anyway, I digress. This was a big change for us, and then we were also moving because we had spent most of our time, the house that we lived at was technically our grandparents, but Mom lived there too. And so here we were, moving to a completely different place that we didn't know, and that was a huge change. And looking back on it, that was not a very comfortable time for me because I don't like change, I never have. And that was scary, going just something completely different. But that whole thing is a story for another time. Anyway, while we were up there, we figured at one point that we would, we wanted to try out for this little softball team that they had up there. It's not like it wasn't a school sanctioned one or anything like that, just because the school we went to, it was the only elementary school up there. There were no sports. This place had no sports. There wasn't a cheerleading squad, there wasn't a volleyball team, or a basketball team, or anything. There was just, we were like the only elementary school for like a whole city. Because, well, I say city, it was small. For a whole town. And it was kind of funny because it was very different, and how different it was would be another one of those things, story for another day. But anyway, we were going to be trying out for the softball team. And before tryouts happened, I think it was shortly before, I had a bit of an accident, and this will be a video on its own because believe me, this one deserves its own video. I broke my wrist. I was a little daredevil child, and because I was a little daredevil child, and I swear, if something had happened to me as a child and I had ceased to be, what should have been put on my gravestone would have been something to the effect of, it wouldn't even be famous last words, it's a famous last exchange. And it's somebody else saying, I bet you can't do this, and my response was always, oh, I bet I can. And as such, I broke my wrist. Yeah, that'll be, like I said, that'll be its own video. But yeah, I broke it good. And, I mean, on the bright side, my cast got to be bright blue, and I was quite happy with that, because I love blue. Anyway, because of that, we didn't get to try out for the softball team. And that made me kind of sad, because I'd never really been involved in sports. I was very bad at sports. Even whenever it was a point in time when I was an active child, I was not good at sports. Just because I'm not very coordinated. But this is relevant to the story. So we would toss around, we got the hang of tossing around a ball, even with a cast on my hand. It was on my throwing hand, so I would just go ahead and catch with my left hand. Because that's the hand I always caught with. And I would very awkwardly still throw the ball with my right arm. In retrospect, it probably wasn't the greatest idea, but I wanted to be out and toss the ball around with Dad and Brandy too. With Dad and Deedle. She has a YouTube channel, doesn't matter if I say her real name. But I'll mostly be calling her by her nickname, Deedle. So, we were up there, and we came back. I want to say it was to visit, because I don't think I had my glasses yet, so I don't think we had moved back. But this was after the actual incident that I'm going to talk about was after my cast was off. So we'd come down to Momo and Papa's, and my cousins were up, and my family is pretty daggone tight-knit. Like, with my cousins, just on my mom's side of the family, I'm the younger middle of, like, 10 total grandkids. Okay? 10. There's a lot of us. And, as we were growing up, even though my brother and my uncle's son, who were the two youngest ones, they came along a decent bit later. Oh, I had a lot of trouble with the little orb thingy and with the background, just a heads up now. And I'm very proud of how the wings turned out on this piece. They make me very happy. I think they're very pretty, even if they're more painterly than the rest of the piece. Anyway, it was always, growing up, it didn't really feel, and even from this point onwards, it didn't feel like I had 2 siblings and 7 cousins. It felt more like I had 9 siblings. Because that's just how we all were. We were around each other at every holiday, every family gathering, and all that, and we just, honestly, we enjoyed each other's company. Anyway, and this comes into play, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten off on this particular tangent. Some of my cousins were up. The one who's between me and Brandy, and, Deedle always palled around with her as we were growing up. I would hang out with them sometimes, but they liked to play house, and that wasn't my thing. I usually followed after the boys. But anyway, here she is, our cousin, up on the porch, because we're out in the front yard. To anybody else, it'd be the backyard. To me, it's the front yard. I may actually eventually kind of draw this out a little bit to show you kind of the layout of it. But there's this porch, and it had pretty steep steps. The front steps were pretty steep down into the yard. And our cousin was up on the porch. She was leaning over the railing, talking to Brandy mostly, and I think she yelled to get my attention. And of course, I look up because I hear my name. So I look up, and I just had really poor timing. One thing to learn is that Murphy's Law either loves our family, as in loves to mess with us, or hates us, as in wants to see us suffer. And there will be more examples of this, I promise, because there are plenty of stories. And so I look up, and then as I'm looking up, out of nowhere, I hear, I want to say, because some of these memories are still very fuzzy because of what follows. I want to say I hear, "Look out!" And I look back at my sister, who is throwing the softball, and she had a very good arm. We found this out when we were practicing throwing the ball around with Dad. My sister had a very good arm, a very strong throw. So I look back just in time to see this softball coming at my face. I had no time to move. I just had enough time to register, oh crap, this is gonna hurt. And then right into my face, this thing plows. And I actually, past this point, I can't remember very much of what happened next, because I was just so dazed and confused. And looking back on it, I'm pretty sure I broke my nose. And if I did, this would be the second time I broke my nose. The first one's going to be a story in and of itself, because it's a short one, but it's funny. But I got knocked for such a loop whenever she threw this ball, because it slammed me right in the face. It's a wonder it didn't knock any teeth out, in all honesty, because I can't even remember exactly where it hit, just because afterwards all I knew was that my face just kind of exploded in pain, and that I was dizzy and dazed, and I just could not hardly function. And it was just, oh my gosh. And I know she felt horrible. I know she felt horrible for it, and I know my cousin felt bad for it, for distracting me. Which I will be linking my sister's channel down in the in the description if you want to check out her stuff. She has some really neat stuff. She's really good with makeup. I'm really not. She's amazing with makeup, the things she can do with makeup. But, it just, oh my gosh. And like I said, I know even to this day that she feels bad for it. And I don't blame her. Whew. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been up all night. But it's just, oh my goodness, I can still remember just seeing that softball coming at me. And I swear it was almost like my life flashed before my eyes. And I just knew that I was just screwed the second that I saw this thing. But I also couldn't move to avoid it. Especially because, like, when I panic, I freeze up, so of course that was what happened as soon as, you know, I saw it coming at me. But overall, oh my gosh, it was a funny story, and it's not the only incident like that. And it's funny because I actually kind of blank out shortly after the initial pain, and I remember, like, I think, well, I'm about 100% sure that I cried, but I just remember, looking back, seeing the softball, explosion of pain, and then I think I remember crying, and then the next thing I knew, I was inside the house, and everybody was trying to calm me down. But I don't remember anything in between there, and most of the memories at that point are very fuzzy, just because I was so knocked for a loop. And it makes for a funny story. It's one that gets told fairly often, honestly, with our family, because we like to tell the funny stories, because we're all fine with sharing the funny stories, because, you know, what fun is life if you can't even laugh at yourself? And, but this is one that I thought would be neat to tell, and I asked my sister which story I should tell since the picture was of her, and, she approved, she suggested this one, and I was just like, oh my gosh, yes! And expect there to be more like this. There will eventually be, like, guests, like my mom and my sister and my dad and my brother on here. That'll be just an interesting little thing and fun little things to do, and I think it'll just be a real blast to do and to have additional little stories on here. I don't know why. I must have clicked off the thing. There we go. But anyway, I'm gonna let the music finish this out. This only has, it's got a couple more minutes, but not too awful anymore. But I just, if you've got any other kinds of stories you want to hear, like, leave it in the comments and let me know. And let me know what you think of this story. Do you have any other funny stories like this yourselves? And, like, accidental injuries that happen just because of the wrong thing happening at the wrong time? And let us know down in the comments. And trust me, we would definitely, me and my sister both would just love to read funny stuff like that, because we would love to know that we're not the only crazy, insane family that does stuff like this. And thank you a ton for watching, and like I said, I'm gonna let the music finish it out. I've got plenty of other story times that I will do eventually. And just thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!